What are you laughing
Dr. Rob.
about, Tammy? We
Because
haven't
I
even
started reading
started.
I know I started reading the question. Yeah, so
You're already giggling.
I know I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. Welcome everyone to the Monday Night Live Q&A with Dr. Rob. He
And
is here
Tammy,
tonight with us. Yes. And Dr. Rob, this is a great question, but it did make me chuckle. Why do sex addicts have delusional thinking? How long does it last after sobriety?
well, I think all addicts have delusional thinking. There's this thing we have called denial, and that's when I convince myself that something is okay that it isn't. And of course, for me to go to massage parlor and have unsafe sex and then think I don't have an STD or don't have a risk of it. I mean, that's the kind of you might call it delusional. I think of it as someone's ability to continue to do what they do without feeling badly enough about it to stop. And so if you think about it, if I want to stop drinking or I want to stop using or I want to stop sexing, as long as it works for me, I'm going to keep doing it. And if I run into little problems along the way, well, it's your fault for bringing it up. Or, why are you bothering me? Or had to work late. Or we keep ourselves in a box, or I would say in compartments, so that I can live in this delusional world and it's okay with me because I'm getting something from it. But you over there, you're looking at me like I am bat poop crazy, but that's because you wouldn't do what I do. You wouldn't think the way I do because you're not an addict. And I do want to say, and I'm going to extend this to Tammy, that it's not just sex addicts. All addicts, before they get healed, they tell themselves that something is okay that clearly isn't because they couldn't keep doing it if they saw it for what it was. In answer to your question, the other half of your question, maybe this is part of what amused Tammy. Um, Addiction is a mental health disorder like depression or anxiety. And in fact, it reappears when someone's under stress or really struggling with something, at least the desire reappears. So, this way that the brain works of someone who's addicted, that doesn't change. Um, I wanted to buy something a week or two ago that I knew was not going to go over in my marriage. So my first thought was, how can I get this and kind of pretend I didn't spend any money on this and maybe I can take it out of savings? And I went through the whole thing in my head because that's what we do. And then I thought, oh, I don't live that way anymore. Oh, I'm married. Oh, I don't want to carry that kind of guilt. But my first thought is, I want to do that and I'm going to go do that and I'm going to get away with it. That will be my first thought for the rest of my life. The whole recovery process and the healing process is not about eliminating that kind of thinking. It's about learning how to manage it and see it and not act on it. So that's my feedback, Tammy. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was chuckling at the delusional thinking, and it denial. We absolutely, can compartmentalize, and we come up with all kinds of reasons and excuses why it's all okay, and it can, and the paradox of I really do love you, and I'm really doing these things. It would be, like I know in some little corner of my mind that
Right.
if you ever find out about this, it's going to be really, really bad. And I'm still able to compartmentalize that and go, you won't know, you won't find out. I so agree with what Dr. Rob said, that it's every form of addiction. And I also totally agree with him when he said, this is a mental health condition and this will always, continue, but I don't want it to be hopeless. Like, and there are moments, and I agree with Dr. Rob, the more under stress, the more whatever, the more dysregulated my thinking can be, and the more I need to lean into the things that have worked for me, in recovery. So I often also share with partners, they're all like, well, why? And I want to understand. And I, apologize profusely, but I go, you will never, ever really understand because you would never, ever do those things. And you know what? That's why we go to 12-step meetings and we go with other addicts because, we tell the crazy stories and we're laughing at it. And it's not laughing because it's so funny, that, and we don't care about other people. We're laughing at that we actually thought that that was a good idea. Like it's like the insanity of our thinking in that moment. But what recovery says is that was nuts, and we don't want to do those. We don't want to repeat that. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, there's no hope. This is always going to happen. Yes, we will always be addicts, but I often share, I've been in recovery for a while. I still go to 12-step meetings. I still, yeah, I'm traveling right now. I'm I have every intention to go to a meeting tomorrow in here, and I'm going to be traveling in a different location on at the end of the week, and I've got a plan to go to that meeting.
So
That's important
Tammy,
for me.
I
Yeah.
want to ask you this.
Hmm.
Why, after all these years of not drinking, I'm playing devil's advocate.
Hmm.
Why you haven't been drinking for years? You're deeply involved in the recovery process. We talk about these issues every single day, whether it's alcoholism or gambling, or we see lots of people with issues. Why aren't you over it? That's
I
me
will
asking that
never
question.
be over it. I have a daily insurance policy based on the work that I'm doing today. My life is way too good, even with, I mean, like, this is a little challenging time, where, anyway, but and it doesn't matter about me, but like I want to make sure that I'm showing up with integrity. It's, in 12 step, we talk about the easier, softer way, and now in recovery, the easier, softer way is staying in this. Like, I know I have another acting out in me. I absolutely do. I am just not 100% sure that I have another recovery in me. And I would rather, I have good relationships. I can make amends when I need to. I can show up. I'm human, believe me. I do things, but I have the ability to do things in a way that is meaningful for me. I don't have to lie and hide, and cover things up, so I absolutely like, there is nothing more precious to me than my recovery. And I know for sure, my relationship with my husband, I would have nothing. I would, like, I would lose everything that's meaningful to me if I didn't hang on to this. And it's good. Why would I give, this is the good stuff. I worked hard to get here. I'm not I'm not willing to sacrifice it for, a meaningless acting out, whatever form I take. I've got multiple, like, what a waste of time and energy. I like life, so I wouldn't trade it. So even the hard stuff.
But I think,
Okay.
Tammy, what you've said in part, and I want to comment on that, is because you haven't
Hmm.
done this in such a long time, this is what I hear you saying. You
Hmm.
celebrate your life. You love your life. You have something that you didn't have before that you want to hold on to. And so those ideas will come into your head because that's how we are. Our brains are broken. But there's so much underneath that that says, I, I know I have this idea, but look at all the things I have in life, and I don't want them to go away. And I know they will if I keep doing this. So what can I do to make sure I'm on the right path? It isn't just um, it isn't just going to weigh, and it isn't just going to some kind of support groups of therapy. It's also beginning to have a life that you value and that you want to hold on to. And I appreciate your saying that, Tammy.
I'm going to share a really quick story because this is a couple of years ago. I don't even remember when, but it was a few years ago. My husband does a phenomenal job with, grilling and smoking meat and all of this kind of stuff. And he was making some sort of, beer broth, for whatever we were having. And one of my addictions, and it's just one, is alcohol. And I opened the fridge, and he had an open can or bottle of beer, I don't remember, in the fridge. First thought was, you could drink this and no one would know. Second thought, like immediately following, was laughing and going, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, like I am such an addict still. Third thing I did was I went and told him. Now he
Mhm.
freaked out because he's like, oh my God. And I said,
Because
no,
he doesn't think that
he
way.
doesn't think that way. And he was
Right.
immediately thinking I was going to go relapse. And I said,
Right.
no, I'm telling you because I have to be accountable. And honestly, it's kind of funny, um, get over what you're feeling right now. It's kind of funny, but like all of this transpired like in a minute, because he was nearby. So, but I was just like, oh my gosh, it's so funny that my brain still goes, you could drink this and no one would know. Everyone would know. There wouldn't be enough on the,
But I
in
like
the
that part,
locale.
the no one would know part, because that's
Yes.
the addict part. It's like me. I'm going to spend this money. I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to cover it up, and nobody's going to know I spent it. It is that kind of I'm going to go off on
Yes.
my own and do what I want to do, and no one's going to know. It's like a 6-year-old with a cookie.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't care about these trail of crumbs. Mom will never know I ate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
We're about
Chocolate
that
all over your
old.
face, yeah. I mean, it's, but the ability to laugh at that and immediately, like I said, I did all of those things. I probably went to a meeting the same day too, just a little more insurance policy. But it's like I tell on myself quickly, and it's not like, oh, I'm acting out, but, I like, if I don't behave in a way that's esteemable, like I'll say at a meeting, like I did this, and it's important for me to be accountable, and not pretend like, oh, I've got this all wrapped up with a bow. I don't. I'm doing the best I can, and I'm on a journey. I like myself better now than I did 2 years ago, and I know in 2 years that'll be the same. I like, why would I want to give up any of that for some, intensity that's momentary and wrecks, all of this good stuff? Not worth it to me. Everybody chooses, but man, oh man, not worth it to me. So, okay, next question, Dr. Ron. I had lunch today with my husband's sister, who has always been a dear friend to me. My husband, who I am now separated from, told her she knew everything. She explained to me that it was a matter of perspective, i.e., I've overreacted, and all guys watch porn to some extent. Obviously, she doesn't know everything, not even close. Is it worth me trying to tell her so she can provide support and help her brother? She knows nothing about the addiction side of this and seems skeptical. What a tough situation to be in. So, Dr. Rob, what are your thoughts?
Well, before I go, Tammy, I'm wondering what made you say a tough situation in this particular case. I will follow you, but you felt that. So what was that?
Yeah. Well, I do, because this was a dear friend to me, and now, like, the friend, sister-in-law's brother, her ex or estranged husband,
Right,
has said something that was clearly not true, minimized, and now is putting her in a position of, like,
right.
like, what do I do? Um, and is there a way to help her support her brother? Like, it is challenging. I have some thoughts, but I know you do too. So,
Well, and by the way, you're cutting in and out a little bit, Tammy, just so you're aware. Not bad, but just a little
hmm,
bit.
I'm in the basement.
Um, so I don't think I think that there are many avenues to get help and support. And the people that I want to turn to are the ones who I don't understand, but I really want to, and I really love you. And my guess is that, if I was your husband's brother, I would I would be on their side, I would be like, oh, she's overreacting. And besides, guess how I would tell you the story? It would be my spouse's fault, and they're just going after me. They're making too big a deal. And you know how men look at porn, and that's the story I would tell my sister. So by the time you got to her, she would not only be on his side, but she would have been convinced that the story is playing out the way she thinks it is. So to me, in a very simple answer, what she thinks and where she's coming from is irrelevant for you. She cannot help you help your ex-husband or your estranged husband. She can't help you. Um, she is not in a place to really support you. She's questioning you, and you need people who have your back, who say, I mean, here you are. I'm so glad that you're here because you get that it's a real problem. I don't think it's your job to educate people. It's your job to take care of yourself. It's interesting because and I say this in a non-religious way, but some of the guys go through our treatment program, they go through Seeking Integrity, and they leave and they've seen the light. They're on a pink cloud and everything's wonderful and they've learned a lot. In the beginning, they are, and thank goodness it's good momentum for when things get difficult. But they also say, I've read this book. And I've learned this, and I can't wait to go back to my family and tell each one of them how they can grow and what they can learn. In other words, they become kind of evangelical about the recovery process. And I tell them, it's not your job. Nobody's going to be interested. If they ask you something, they might, but just because you're having these great feelings and you want to go forward and tell the world, or you want to get help from everybody, doesn't mean that's going to happen. And I think bottom line is you've had enough information to know that this person, as much as they may care, is not going to be able to support you. And you have enough information that she's going to fall into the spell of her brother. And so I would say, thank you. It's so nice of you to reach out. I'm glad you're supporting, my estranged husband, whatever. And I look forward to Thanksgiving dinner. And then I would turn to people in the support groups we have, the free ones. I would turn to a Betray Partners group. We teach that. I would make use of resources that are going to help validate and support you. because you're the one who's going through this. You're the one who is in a crisis because of this. You don't need to convince anyone about what you're going through. You need support. So that's my response, Tammy. Do you have thoughts about that?
Well, and if it's a dear friend and you want to continue to have lunch, maybe this is like, and we're not going to talk about him, we're not
Right.
going to talk about any of these issues. There's plenty of other life things to talk about so that, if this friendship is important to you, but maybe this is a topic that just needs to be on, off the table for
Yeah.
now. So yeah. So I think that there are ways if you choose to, but I'm with Dr. Rob, trying to educate. She is, if she wants to learn, guess what? You found out you can find resources or she could even say, tell me more. Do you have some resources you would suggest for me? So, but yeah, she is, her brother's sister and would be probably, if things get split, she's probably going to align with him. It's difficult, not impossible, to maintain those kind of other relationships. So I agree with Dr. Rob. Lean into the support that will support you during this difficult time. And if you can maintain, talk about, other things, kids, the weather, whatever,
Well, we have
um,
learned
uh,
not to talk about religion and not to talk about
mhm,
politics with close family when we're having time with them. And I'm sure there's so much you can enjoy with her, enjoy about her, but you can also say, let's not talk about your brother. I just think
mhm,
that's just it's painful for me.
mhm,
You don't have
mhm,
to, it's hard
mhm,
on me. I just would rather love you, but let's talk about
mhm.
something else.
Yeah,
And that's all you don't have to cut off the relationship,
no.
but I would look at there's limitations here.
Mhm,
And I tell the guys all the time, you have an A list, a B list, and a C list. And maybe you thought this person was an A list, tell everything. Maybe they're a B list, which is there are limitations to the relationship you didn't realize were there. Follow them. Trust your gut. You're not going to change anybody's mind. But what you can do is take care of yourself. And the one thing I don't hear, Tammy, is so I'm going to groups, I'm reading stuff. Since she doesn't support me, I'm getting support somewhere else. And I just want you to hear that the support you're looking for is going to come from the people who already understand. And the support your brother needs is not someone who's going to sit to align with him and say, no big deal. He needs someone who's going to say, hey, I think you're full of crap. And let's look at what really happened in your life. Because those are the people who are my friends in recovery, the ones who are going to tell me the truth. And she may not, that's not her job. She's just his sister. So anyway, I think we've said lots.
yes. But we don't have any other questions. Please, people here in the group, please. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Just like poof. Okay, here we go. Betrayed partner, married 22 years, 5 months, receiving support for both of us. I have chosen to stay as long as her working recovery, and I see.
he's
Oh,
he's working.
I'm sorry. He is. Yeah, sorry. Working recovery, and I see work change. But recently he has started saying he doesn't know if we should stay together. This weekend he told me he's been lying to me and that when he said he tells me he loves me or misses me, he is lying, but saying that he always says so as to not hurt me further, but he doesn't know if he can keep that up. I asked him to sleep in the spare room and talk to a CSAT later this week until he can get some perspective. I think this is his addict brain talking. He knows that no major decisions should be made, but within a year. This is the third time he has circled this topic, but this time was the most painful in saying directly that he did not, or what he did. What should I do for now? This is very hurtful, but I also just don't know how to function in the meantime. And who knows how long this period will last. My heart goes to you, truly.
Um, to me, it feels like I'm having a picture in my head of a rodeo. In a rodeo, when someone falls off the bull and they're tied to the bull and bull, with rope, and the bull is running around and the person's getting run around in the dirt by the bull and they can't let go and they can't. This situation is incredibly painful. He keeps shoving you into more pain. You get hope up and then it's destroyed, and you get hope up and then it's destroyed, and each time it's worse for you. If I'm worried about you losing your mind. I'm worried about you. I'm not worried about him. He's perfectly fine. It's you I'm worried about. And two things I'll say to you. If I were working with this person in this situation, knowing what I know, and I'm not saying this is true or not, I would say he's still acting out. Maybe he's having an affair, and when he starts to feel guilty or badly or it doesn't go well, he runs back to you. And then when it's he's having fun and it's going okay and he's got an out, well, then he pushes you away, and because it's really hard for him to love you and go do what he does at the same time, so he just shoves you away. I don't, but I'm reading into things that I don't even care about. I care about you, and I, if you were my friend, really my friend, I would say to you, I think this is not a healthy situation for you to live in. And I think you're being abused. This is abusive relation. It's not hitting you, but it is gaslighting, it is manipulative, it is abusive. And so again, I feel like you're that cowboy who's tied to the bull and being ground around in the dirt, and you're kind of saying, oh, well, that bull, maybe he'll stop in a minute or two. But you don't untie yourself, and then before you know it, the bull is off again, and you're going to have to figure out a way to get untied. And that's going to be painful and difficult to find your own peace. But this is not someone that I would ask to sleep in the spare room, me. This is someone I would ask to live somewhere else because I forget what they do. This is a boundary. I can't tolerate my life going up and down. I cannot tie myself to you knowing that I'm going to go insane if I do. What should I do for now? Um, I'm going to leave that piece to Tammy, but I do know that you can function by completely taking your focus off of him and taking the focus onto you. Because and I'll give you a different example, if I'm very, very ill, I have something wrong with me medically, there's only so much I can do for other people. They need to come together for me, and certainly I need to take myself out from under stress and pain. And I don't want to be with a person who says, oh, well, that cancer's not a big deal. You'll be fine. I mean, you need it. So Tammy will reinforce this 100%. But what I don't hear is how are you taking care of you? You are pointing at him and saying, if he does this, I will feel better. And if he doesn't do this, I'll lose my mind. All of we call this external control. Outside of you is all the control for your own life. Now, I know this isn't the answer you want to hear. I really believe that. What you want to hear is, well, he'll realize how much he's hurting me, or something that the CSAT says, or he'll finally wake up, or, to me, this is someone who I'm not going to, how do I say this? I would treat this situation, if it were me, like he's going to walk out. That's how I would treat this situation, and that you have no control over, and he's got some girlfriend out there and he's going to leave, and he knows he's going to leave. What are you going to do to take care of you in that circumstance? If he was walking out the door, and you knew that was happening, what would you do? How would you take care of yourself? He doesn't want to talk to you. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He's going to go off with this other person. What are you going to do? He doesn't even want to talk to you. What are you going to do? I hope that you would seek support and love and nurturing and realize that you have no control over what he does, but you really can control and manage your reactions. We can't do anything about the things that happen to us, but how we manage them and handle them is everything. So Tammy, I know from Tammy's been involved with our women's retreats, and they are about this very issue, which is how do I turn away from someone who is jerking me around whenever they feel like it and begin to meaningfully understand that my life is about finding peace for me. So Tammy, I know that you have wonderful things to say
I
about
have
this.
some resources for you, and I've already put a couple of links. The first one I'm going to point you to is the previously recorded webinars. Last Wednesday, Deborah Doak did I may be saying that wrong. It may be Doak, but it's Doak. I have a thick Midwestern accent. Anyway, so
Yes, you do.
I know, the she did a webinar. I heard about her and asked her to join us to talk about mediation, and it is more about, and I don't have my note, I'm traveling, but it was like uh stay well, or no, leave well, uh stay safe, whatever. It was like stay, but if you're going to stay, make sure you're safe. If you're thinking about it, be okay, and if you're leaving, leave well, or leave well. So it was like all three layers of stay, leave, be in the middle, but do it with integrity, make intentional choices. Next webinar I'll point you to, so that was last week Wednesday, and it's posted. I just saw it when I pulled the link. Kristen Snowden in May did a should I stay or should I go. I'll tell you why I'm telling you all these resources in a moment. But Kristen Snowden did that webinar, and I loved it because she was using some of Dr. John Gottman's work, but it was like 10 questions. Journal about those things, because I think you'll see, what's going on for you if you follow that. Finally, in May, at the end of the month, Debbie Allen had two partners. One chose to stay, one chose to leave. And again, judgment-free zone. Everybody makes their own choices, but it was each partner's journey and how they made those decisions, and they both are very comfortable with the choices that they have made. Now, why am I talking about all this stay or go? Because why does he get to decide? It's like, oh, I'm going to be, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in. And you're sitting there waiting. At some point, I'm going like, I would love for you to be going like, wait a minute, I'm going to pick for me, not be, on the other end of the, that paddle ball thing, where you're getting paddled and there's a ball going in and out, getting out, whatever. You're out of control because he has the control in the relationship. It's what, I can't decide if I'm in. Well, I'll be in. Well, I didn't want to hurt your feelings. I mean, what a crock of hooey, quite frankly. This is one of those where, like, how hurtful for him to say those things after 22 years and you have stuck with him. To me, and Dr. Rob does this a lot, come here, go away, come here, go away. What a perfect example of come here, go away, And I agree with Dr. Rob. I don't trust that he's in any kind of abstinence, let alone, sobriety, at this point in the game. So for you, I would highly encourage, we have a betrayed partner work group starting in early October. I'll put the link for those in a moment. And then we have the Empowered Women's Retreat, and we're talking about the women. We're not talking about him, but it is, what do you need to take care of you, regardless of what he's doing. And you can stay in a relationship. You can stay in a relationship where someone's acting like this as long as you have support and you have healthy boundaries. So, just sleeping in another room, but still coming to you and going like, well, in, out, I don't know.
It's
I know
abusive.
it's horrible and painful. It is. I agree with Dr. Rob. So I would love for you to be empowered and taking charge of your safety, physical, emotional, financial, spiritual, so that you are okay regardless of what he's doing. I also put my internet is unstable. I am sitting in the basement, sorry. But the
It's not
Moving On
bad. It's
Alone
not bad.
group is Thursdays, and that is a little different flavor for the betrayed partners. It is not people who are looking to stay in a relationship or hoping to. It is for people who are, well, let's see, have been left, are leaving, or uh
Thinking about it.
have, yeah, like have one foot out the door, kind of. So if you're left, leaving, or thinking about it, that could be a good group too, because again, the focus is not on how do we repair this relationship. Now, you've been married 22 years. If you have children, you'll always co-parent, co-grandparent, and all that. And but you being in a safe place where you're taking care of you, regardless of what he chooses to do or not do, I would really encourage you to honor you and take care of you. Any other thoughts on that?
Well, don't do it alone. I think to
Yeah.
find people and say, I commit that I'm going to go to this group, or I commit that I'm going to read this book, or I think in our heads we kind of get, oh, well, we'll work it through. It's not that big a deal. I'll figure it out. And we, just like the addicts, you spouses need the support if someone's going to hold your feet to the fire and say, you matter, and don't even go there with him, because what matters is what you're going through. Um, so yeah. Did you say
and
woof?
and I'm
No,
putting
you didn't
the
say woof.
I just put the link for the work groups. Now, Sex Addiction 101 starts on the 25th, but the Empowered Women, no, I'm sorry, Empowered Women's is a retreat. The Betrayed Partner work group is, I think, the 9th of October. One more little topic on that. On October 3rd, Angela Spearman, who is the facilitator, is going to do a webinar, and that has been posted. And she's going to kind of answer some questions, because I think there's some confusion about what the work group is for the betrayed partner. So she's going to give kind of a overview of some of the topics and how it is run. And I think that'll be educational for the people who are considering it. So join us on October 3rd for that webinar. But then I would encourage you to sign up if you haven't already been through our Betrayed Partner Part 1 and Part 2 6-week courses. Let me give a little background on what a work group is. Live facilitated, 6 weeks, 90 minutes per week. And it is psychoeducation. This is the stuff you don't get in therapy. Many therapists recommend this for their clients because it really helps, move things forward. So, and this is done via Zoom, so people all over the world can participate. Low cost, $395 for an entire 6 week course. So this is really good, support, foundational. How part of it is boundaries. So if you're struggling with how do I hold a boundary for this, what is a boundary? It is not punishment. It is not control. Learning about those things will help you help you.
I
Okay,
did want
next
to
one, Dr.
respond to
Rob.
one more
Go ahead.
thing in that question.
Sure.
Sorry, and I'm so glad I can look at them. Um, you said to the person who said this, Laura, you said, I just don't know how to function in the meantime. And who knows how long this period will last? Well, I'm going to say to you, I think you should live your life like it's forever. I don't think you're sitting around and hoping that things will be different or asking us when will it be different. I think what you need to assume is that this is going to continue. And that what are you going to do? It's a really good way of thinking about it. What are you going to do if this doesn't change? Because I think hoping and wishing and maybe if is just keeping you stuck and following this person around. Yeah. So let's keep moving.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Rob. Betrayed here. Prior to discovery, my partner unintentionally saw my sister's bare breast. She bent over and he was sitting across from her. He got angry at her about it, saying she shouldn't have been doing what she was doing, push-ups in a sweatshirt and pants. After a while, I asked him why he was so upset, and then it clicked, and I asked if he was upset at her because he's attracted to her and he can't unsee what he saw. He blew up at me, and we haven't been able to broach the subject for almost a year since it occurred. This is extra disturbing because my sister is verbally and emotionally abusive towards me, and my partner has expressed extreme dislike towards her for our entire relationship and said that her personality reminds him of his ex. The day after he saw her exposed, he hugged her goodbye, even though they never had hugged. What is going on with him? He's in denial and avoidant of the subject matter. We're both in individual therapy, FSAT for her and CSAT for him.
Well, I can tell you the first thought, the only one word comes to my mind, which is run. Something really awful is going on here, and I don't know what it is. I'll speak to the first part. I had a client, this is absolutely true, years and years ago. And you know how long ago how long ago it was he went into Virgin Records and he went into the record store. He was probably buying CDs, but nonetheless, we had group therapy and he was a member of the group and he went to the record store before group and he came into group and he was so angry because there had been an attractive woman there and how dare she flash or look so I don't know what the word is, reveal so much. She was just being her, none of our business how she wants to dress. How dare she dress that way when I'm trying to get better? So there's that part of, you know, how could you do this to me? And it's like going to a bar. How could these people be drinking when don't they know I'm trying to stop? It's his responsibility to manage, to deal with, to make decisions about what he's going to do and not. She didn't do anything wrong in this circumstance. So the first half of it, including him blowing up, because what you said, I imagine might have been shameful, might have been embarrassing, might have made him feel exposed, or there's something going on that you don't know about. I don't know. I don't know. What I do know, and what makes me curious, and I want you, Tammy, to help me answer this, is this person is bringing up something that happened a year ago. And it's extra disturbing, blah, 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 our entire relationship, her personality. A day after he saw her exposed, a year ago, he hugged her. We've never talked about it, what's going on with him. So I guess, what I want to throw you, Tammy, and maybe the person who wrote this is, why are you talking about something that happened a year ago? Like, why is that? Uh, how can you come to resolution without him, whatever he's going to say, because it doesn't sound like he's going to say much. How are you going to come to resolution what's thus happened, because it's still making you crazy a year later? Why is it still running around your head? How is it still running around in your head? You're again are going to make yourself crazy, focusing on, well, what did he do? And why didn't he do it? And his sister or my sister. What matters is you. What matters is how how would you recommend a friend deal with this situation? It doesn't matter what's actually going on and what it means. It upset you. It made you uncomfortable. You were treated badly about it. So in every piece of this, I feel badly for you. I don't give a poop what he's doing or why he gets angry or what his sister, your sister. What I care about is you. And by the way, if you don't like her and you don't feel comfortable with her, she isn't coming around, right? She doesn't need to come around. So, I certainly have family members who, I see at Thanksgiving and that's about it. Um, so how can you protect yourself from her, from your feelings about her and you're being safe? How can you move in a way in your life that this doesn't haunt you? That's the word. I feel like this is just, like a ghost out there, not going away. So I do want to ask you, Tammy, a little bit about also about we're an individual therapy, APSAT and CSAT,
Yeah.
APSAT and CSAT.
Absat is for
And
the
how does
partners. Yeah.
that relate to this? Because if I were working with a therapist and it was a year later, I probably would have found other things to write us about than something that happened so long ago. So, Tammy, you can probably do, I don't mean to be shaming about how long it's been. It's just
No,
what is keeping,
I've got some thoughts on that because
go ahead,
first of all, I
please.
thought this feels like the double betrayal. You've got a sister who's like mean girl to you, like really not nice, and then your partner hugs her. So like the two of them are kind of bonding over here, and you're going like, uh, uh, to me, I would feel betrayed by both of them. I was thinking about that, and I suspect that there's more going on. Like
Hmm.
to me, this is bothering you because there's something happening in the present that feels like threaded to that. I think there's a lot more. Dr. Ross said a minute ago, I don't believe he's not acting out. And I kind of had this feeling about this one too, that there's something, and that image stuck with you for lots of reasons. The first thing I thought of though is boundaries with sister. It's like, yeah, like that would not be a safe person in my world. And I'm here for family, issues and or events. And there are always family issues. And like I take care of myself and make sure I've got my plan A, B, C to take
Tammy, I'm
care of
losing you.
me, and I work really hard. I'm gonna take these out and see if that helps. I don't know if this will help. Does that help?
Sounds better.
Okay. All right. We'll try this. Okay. So, but to me, I was thinking I work really hard I have my internal boundaries, which is different than external boundaries. I have my internal boundaries about how I interact with people who are not safe. To me, your sister is massive red flag, not safe, And so I would work really hard at creating the safety plan for you around, interaction with your sister, whatever that looks like. So but I do feel like that there's something else going on that is tethered somewhat to that incident. And so I would journal. Honestly, journaling is like when you start journaling, stuff comes up and you may go, oh, there's that pattern, there's that thread, and that's why I'm feeling that. Troy Love, who will be on the webinar on Wednesday, talks about abandonment wounds and neglect wounds and betrayal wounds. And I would love for you to join that webinar at 9:30 a.m. on Wednesday, because we talk about all of those issues, and he may have some insights for you as well, because this feels like there's something getting poked that's bigger, but it feels like it's tied back to that. That's my thoughts.
Well, I wanted to say one more thing. Remember, we don't know you. We don't know your circumstances. We don't know who you are. This is the goal of this. So whatever I say or don't say, who knows? But something's going on with them. That's where I would go is, when you have an angry sister who wants to be vengeful and knows this and knows your husband is attractive, and then you have an angry husband who doesn't want to talk about it and says, why are you bringing this up? Something really not okay is happening. What I would do if it were me is I would sit down with with your two therapists, and the four of you say, you need to say, I don't feel comfortable with this and I don't know what's going on. In other words, someone needs to have your back. I do think you need to bring this up. I do think you need some kind of resolution. Obviously, it's still making you crazy, and he's still. And by the way, talk about lack of empathy? your husband says to you, you say to him, I'm upset about this. It makes me uncomfortable. And what he should say is, wow, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. What's going on? What left you feeling this way? Not shut the F up. For him to do that just says, as Tammy said, something is going on and it ain't pretty. And I really encourage you to, what I would do is I bring your therapist, his therapist, whatever it is. I think you need to be in a room with preferably both of them, so you don't feel like someone's taking someone's side, and sit down and say, this made me really uncomfortable and I don't know what to do with it. And you're angry at me every time I bring it up. And that's a safe place to figure out more. This sounds like something that's bigger than you. And I think you need help with it. And you know what? That's why you came here, because you wanted help and direction with this. And I'm glad you're here.
Me too.
Okay.
And betrayed partner work group again starts early October. Okay, betrayed partner. My partner just started with a CSAT. I want him to have his safety and privacy. And I've heard about how a lot of CSATs for the addict involved the betrayed in the process at times to get feedback on the addict and verify if it is reality they are portraying it is the full experience. As a betrayed partner, is there anything I should be asking for or requesting from my partner's CSAT during the recovery process beyond support through the disclosure process? I have an AppSat as well.
Can you go with that? Because I'm still trying to like process it, if you don't mind.
Okay, so the situation, and we talk about this a lot, that good CSATs are going to ask for, collateral information. Um,
Hmm.
uh, and so uh, to me, like if your partner, like hopefully your partner is sharing not what's happening in therapy, but is, sharing, perhaps, some of the treatment plan or, some of the steps, what are the action steps? Hopefully you're seeing what the action steps are. It's not just, I'm going and talking about what happened this week, at therapy. So what is the plan? And I think that that's a fair question for a partner to ask. And they are looking for collateral information. So, some of this will be, this is what I'm seeing at home, or this is what I've requested, and I'm not seeing. Now, I think your AppSat can be really helpful for you, to help gauge that. And at times, having your AppSat and his CSAT and the two of you, just like Dr. Rob was talking about a moment ago, like that can be, it can be conjoint couples therapy, and we don't recommend couples therapy early on, but if there's some, if there's some navigating some certain situations, then early on, a few sessions could be helpful. So I would lean into your AppSat and ask about that. If there's releases signed as also, that's another good way, for the therapist to talk and see what some sticking points are as well. But to me, the therapists that are saying, tell me about your experience. Are you seeing change? That type of thing would be really, that would be useful. So does that make sense, Dr. Rob?
I think that always getting feedback and support, especially in neutral places where you feel protected. That's again why we both said both therapists. Lord knows it's expensive, but I would always feel if I was seeing my spouse's therapist, well, maybe they're kind of on their side. I mean, you can't help but think that, especially if they push back on me. But there's something in here that I'm not sure I understand, Tammy. I've heard a lot of therapists, we can say CSATs, therapists who working with the addict involve the betrayed partner in the process at times to get feedback on the addict and verify if they're really basically doing what they say they're going to do. And I'm not sure, and maybe you can help me. I don't think it's any therapist's job to tell you that your spouse is doing or isn't
No, no,
doing what
no.
they're
I think
supposed.
it's the opposite. I think it's they're looking, because if I'm the addict and I go, Dr. Rob, I'm doing all of my homework. I've done everything. I'm
Right.
completely doing, and I have so much empathy for my partner. And then the
Full
partner comes
experience.
in and goes, like he hasn't been to a 12-step meeting in 3 weeks. And, you gave him that book and I had to dust it the other day because he has I mean, like that's what I'm reading with this is the CSAT therapist for him is looking for collateral information, about, is what he is saying, the lying
Okay.
addict, what you are seeing at home.
So many people will say in therapy, it's my therapy, it's private, you shouldn't be involved. And many therapists will agree with that because we are trained that way. However, and I talk about this, I do training for therapists once a week, and we talk about what Tammy said, which is a collateral, which is I might need to bring someone's family member in. I may, as a therapist, they're telling me this, but maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe I need more information as a therapist. There's nothing wrong with with your saying I'd like to come in once and explain what's going on with me. Even if that's not acceptable, you could certainly leave a message on that therapist's voicemail or whatever saying, or I'm concerned about these things. I know you may not be able to reach out to me. I understand that, but I really would appreciate your taking the time to take a look at this because I'm not feeling safe. There's nothing wrong with now they can't call you back. They can't say, oh, well, they're doing this or that. That's not their job. But for you to say, as Tammy said, well, I thought he was supposed to be doing that and he's not. And, I've noticed that when we're doing this, he does that. The therapist may not know about that, and it is certainly viable for you to say, I am seeing this. I don't think you're going to get pulled into his therapy. I don't think that's something that makes sense. But for you to have the ability to say, I am concerned and I don't feel good about this, and I want to make sure that a part of the work you're doing includes this, I think that's perfectly fine. Now, how it plays out, your husband may say, well, there she is again, interfering with my therapy. And, I can't promise it'll go well, but I do think your voice matters. And in these circumstances, when the addicts lie and, say this is going on when that's going on, I think your voice is more important than perhaps in just a regular therapy. Yeah.
Well, and I was thinking, like, if there are things that you go, give positive feedback. If you see this, I see he is doing this, and
Hmm.
he's been consistent with that, and that's helping me, have some hope and trust. Great, because that would be, I always say, if they're, it's like little kids. If you, like, reward the positive, and I know you shouldn't
Hmm.
have to, but honestly, what is the goal? If the goal is to have a good relationship, having a human being that shows up as an adult, if we have to do some things that are a little bit different, but if the therapist is going, oh, that's working, great, that's good information for the therapist to know also, to help lean into, okay, that seems to be a method that's working for your partner, so let's help, enhance that. So
And when
okay,
you see how it plays out, you'll learn a lot.
yeah,
Mm.
okay, next question, Dr. Rob. If I can click done. Okay. I'm a woman, 41 years old. I feel sad by the previous answer, leading someone on being abusive because I did the come here, go away thing with my ex-boyfriend for close to 10 years. I have since joined SLAA for emotional anorexia and a ton of trauma therapy. I also choose to remain single till I feel ready to commit to someone. Do I need to repent for life? He was a great guy, but I was chasing bad boys and thrills who were as emotionally unavailable as me. Many thanks. I I honor, thank you for sharing that. Honestly, goodness, thank you. Like the stuff that we do in addiction, and I'm gonna invite you. You're in SLAA. This is fourth through ninth step work, and your sponsor can help you. Do you need to make an amends to him? I don't know. Like that, but there's so many layers of that. I would really encourage you, if you're in SLAA, trust the process. So Scott and I, in the link that's on the previous webinars, it's the top thing I put in the chat. February 7th, I've quoted this one enough. Scott and I did a webinar that talked about the 12 steps, and because there's many S groups, and I love that you're in SLAA, but there's women in SCA. I mean, there's a fair number in SCA. So find the healthy meetings, find the sponsors, really lean into the work. And I know you're doing trauma work and all of that, but I'll tell you, housekeeping is steps 4 through 9. If you lean into those, do the work. I think you'll have some clarity about what you need to do to make amends. Sometimes we don't go make amends to that person. It's living amends so that we show up in a different way. I don't know, and you don't either at this point. But the shame will be. Again, I'm going to put a plug in for Troy Love's a webinar. He talks about the voices of shame with everything. So if you can join us Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, would love to have some of those questions, around those as well. But
We
please,
don't charge for that, right,
no, no,
Tammy?
no, no, these are all free.
Hmm.
But please know I am so grateful you are here and you are choosing to be on this journey. You can change things now. Like, you don't have to continue to to chase the bad boys. You can end up with someone who's a really good and decent person, and you can show up with integrity. And I hear you taking a pause. Great, do the work, figure out who you are and all that kind of stuff. And then when you're ready, have Dr. Rob has talked about this on other webinars. Have your little posse of people that can help you date, with integrity. So, but thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing in such a vulnerable way. And I would, but sadness, okay, but at some point you go, yeah, that's who I was, but that's not who I want to continue to be. And I'm willing to do the work to change. That's what recovery is all about. So I'm cheering for you ultimately. So
First of all, I want to say to all 38 of you that, or 37 of you, that it is really important that you see that there are women who have this problem. It is really important you see this isn't just a guy thing, that women who've had trauma and abuse in their past also act out sexually. The numbers are different, but I want to double back on Tammy and say how much incredible respect I have, especially for a woman who is the other woman. She's the one who many of you aren't very happy with, and I really value her voice may give you, for women like this, a little bit of empathy and compassion for whatever that's worth. But I wanted to speak to you, the person, to you directly about your issues. Um, I heard, I read, I joined a 12-step program for emotional anorexia. That means for avoiding dating, for avoiding relationships, for avoiding sex, and I'm in trauma therapy. Great. But then you also said, I choose to remain single till I feel ready to commit to someone. And that's what I kind of push back on, because you're anorexic and you already avoid relationships and intimacy. I'm not saying go run around with a whole bunch of people, but I'll tell you this. How long was I don't know. This is 15, more than 20 years ago. I think it was in the 90s. I don't know how long ago that was. My sponsor, I had a great sponsor, and he said to me, I want you to take 3 months out and not be sexual or romantic with anyone. Okay, I did that. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how I carried myself, what a sexual being I turned myself into, how I looked at people. I learned a lot about my challenges in addiction and my challenges in recovery. And then he said, take another 3 months. I was furious. So I wasn't allowed, I could allowed, I made a choice to commit to this person who I trusted and respected, to follow the guidelines I was given and not be sexual or romantic for 6 months. And that was very helpful for me. But what I did not learn from it was how to date, how to have relationships, how to have feelings about anyone. So when I hear you say, I choose to remain single until I get ready to commit to someone, that sounds a little extreme to me from someone who's anorexic. You don't have to commit to someone to go out for coffee. You don't have to commit to someone to go out with friends with them. So I'm just saying that there's a balance between none at all, never. And I'd like to learn more about this. When I was in no, never, ever for this period of time, I learned so much, but I didn't learn about how to deal with the other side of it, which is the really scary which is dating, asking someone out, being asked, all that stuff. So I'm not saying you're ready to chase someone and get married or commit to anything, but I do ask you, I don't know how far along you're in recovery, and this isn't the question you asked, but I do wonder, what is your path to getting from 0 to 100? Because if you're in 0 and you're thinking, well, I'm not going to do anything until I get to 100, how are you going to learn about 10 and 20 and 30 and 40? So I would ask you to talk to your sponsor about, or is there anything for me between nothing and I'm ready to commit? Because I don't learn about dating and relationships by not doing any of it. So I just offer that to you as something to think about, because I understand that comes up a lot, especially with women. I won't do anything until I'm ready. Well, you were probably ready when you were anorexic, but you didn't let yourself be ready. So anyway, I just want to say that to you. I agree with Tammy. You don't have to make amends to the person that you hurt in many circumstances, and it may not be a good idea to get back in touch with them. But how can you find a way to provide that kind of care and help and respect to someone else, that you can pay it forward, if you will? And maybe that is a way to make your amends rather than looking to them as the place to go. So that's my thought.
I have one more thought on this. As women, we are not often good at making female friend relationships because females are competition. And so I would invite you to really work on connecting with other women, particularly in your 12-step groups. But but also other social circles, like, is there a hobby that you did not take up because you were focused on chasing bad boys? Are there some things that you've thought, oh, I would love to, do pottery, making stuff up. But is there something that you go, I would like to go, like, it
Mhm.
doesn't all have to be about 12 step. I'm a big 12 stepper, and it's about living life, a good life
Mhm.
that is connected and engaging in different things. So are there some things that you go, hey, I'll join a book club, I, I would invite you to explore it. Again, I'm going to go back to the journaling, like, just write down some things that you could kind of kick around and take a look at and see if there's some things. And can you make some friends with other people? Because you know making relationships, like, you can learn a lot with friendships, that can apply ultimately to a dating relationship. But you know what, practice them. Practice being a good friend, making friends and navigating that space. That can be a really valuable thing. And I was in the women are competition, and I my female friendships are so incredibly meaningful and valuable to me. They have been the support that I could have never had, if I had not been willing. So I really invite you to lean into that. Okay.
And I want to comment on that too, because
Mhm.
Tammy, you couldn't be more right, which is, as a sex addict, if I was a heterosexual sex addict, all my focus would be on women. And I asked the guys I work with, do you have any close friends? Well, I have a friend from here and there. How much do they know about your struggle that I'm in or with your spouse? Nothing. So who are you leaning on as a colleague, as a friend, as a support? Tammy said, how can you have this is not a sackcloth and ashes. How can you enjoy your life? Why would we do all of this to simply be miserable? So I agree, and I would just change it slightly that I think you can go on a hiking group that's mixed gender.
Yes. Oh yeah.
You're outside, you're with people, you might chat with this person walking up the hill, you might chat with this person walking down. It's a way to look at your boundaries and seeing what's working. I don't, because I'm struggling with eating, I don't never eat again. I learn how to eat in a healthy way. I would also wonder, what is your circle plan? What is your written plan for dating? If they're like this, I don't date them. If they are, I'm warning. If it's this, you can make plans for looking forward to the future about what you can do and want to do, not just about what you shouldn't do. And I think that's equally important on some level.
Oh,
Okay, Tammy, the next
last question.
question.
Yes, and it's an easy one. Is the Troy Love meeting listed under events on Wetonglin? No. You will always find our resources listed on our pages. And I typed in the bottom of the chat, it's on our, like, where you found this, it's there. All of our webinars and drop-in groups are on those links. And separately, there is the calendar, because we do have things that, shift, like, like the special event that I mentioned, with Deborah Doak. That was, a different, we have an attorney, for those considering, or what would you need to know at the end of October. Our colleague Stuart Leviton is doing a webinar on, some questions to ask and some legal considerations. Again, he's not doing attorney things for any of you. This is just general information. But I think those combination of things, can be really useful. And we've got some other special events in October. So I would encourage you to look specifically at the calendar. But the cards are listed on that. And cards, I mean, like, webinar Monday night with, live Q&A with Dr. Rob or Aaron, so you'll see those components there. You can always email tami@seekingintegrity.com if you've got questions on any of those things. The work groups I posted, those are on the Seeking Integrity website under the work group tab. And we have, the new one starting up again. Like I said, Sex Addiction 101 starts this week. Super helpful, good foundational components. Not enough, not treatment, but really can be helpful. So check those out as well.
I just wanted to add that, I mean, we Tonglin is a support platform for women and no men, women only, which I think speaks to our point. But I just want to say I have the utmost respect for them. I think they are standing up for women in the right way. I've done seminars on there for them. Other people have as well. I want to, because we're plugging and encouraging you to do stuff with us. I'm a huge fan of theirs. They won't let me join. I started to join one day and they said, I'm sorry, you sound like a male. You can't join. And I'm like, what do you mean I
You're
can't join?
Roberta, don't they know? So
But I do get to teach and
yeah,
to support them. And yeah, that's my goal is to give away as much as we can.
yeah.
So thank you, Tammy.
Thank
Always
you,
good to
Dr.
see
Rob.
you.
Absolutely. Thanks for
Get
all
out
the
of the
questions from
basement.
people. Yeah, I
Get
will.
out of the bay. Whoever put you there, just tell them you
It's
need to get
quiet
out.
down here. It's a good thing. So, all
Okay.
right. Talk to you later. Bye bye.